Today we're going to start days 42b. It's the Mishnah. Do we thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day? In this course of our learning, we should have this in English immediately. So the Mishnah starts in Nedarim Daf. Oh. Yeah, the merit of Noah. Okay. So, someone takes a vow from his friend. We're going to see possibly it means that it's going both ways, from his friend and from his friend from him. But meanwhile, let's look at it that it's just one way. He takes a vow that he's not giving any benefit to his friend. Okay. Right. Chaverei. We say a friend, we don't actually mean that it's a friend. We mean a fellow. Okay. Because even by an ox, it says Shar Sha'al al Gavi Chaveri, an ox that went on his friend. We don't mean a friend. We mean a fellow. I just think of like 5-year-olds. I'm not sure. It's like, I'm not your friend. And it just means a fellow human. I guess that's like when you that could mean friend, though. That doesn't mean a fellow. So he takes a vow that not to give benefit to his friends. So you shouldn't lend him anything. The way the Ran learns is that the one that the one that was prohibited should not lend to the one that took the vow. It's the opposite of the way I would have thought. Yeah. I would have thought Leah Shileno is Reuven takes a vow that Shimon can't have any benefit from it. Reuven shouldn't lend Shimon anything. That would be the obvious. And then V'layishal Mimeno. And then Reuven shouldn't borrow from Shimon. Now it works both ways, but just the question is which one is which. Ran says the mother to the mother. Lo yashileno means Shimon. That was not the one that took the vow. He was the one that the vow was taken about. He should not lend to Reuven anything. And then Lo yishal mimeno would mean that he shouldn't borrow anything from Reuven.
So you're saying it goes both ways.
The Mishnah clearly goes both ways. The question is who is who? Which one is the mimeno? Who's the one that who's the subject and who's the object there is the question.
Right, it goes both ways.
Doesn't matter. It's just a difference in translation. Right. You shouldn't lend him and you shouldn't borrow from him. The first one was an object. Shaila is when you're borrowing an object. And leiva is when you're borrowing money or lending money. So you shouldn't lend or borrow an object, and you shouldn't lend or borrow money. You shouldn't sell him anything, and you shouldn't buy from him. Doesn't contradict something that we learned before.
Why does it separate objects from money?
We'll see in a minute. Yeah. Okay. The Gemara right away asks, the Ran has a different guess there.
Because when you give the object, borrow the object, you give the same object back. When you borrow money, you should spend different money back. And in those days, the money was not necessarily exactly the same.
Very good. Very good. That's exactly what the Gemara is going to say. The Gemara says,
a pretty face. I'm not a pretty face. We understand what it means that he shouldn't yilvenu, means he shouldn't lend him the kamahani like, because he's giving him benefit when he lends him. Of course, the person's not paying back interest. He's just lending him money. So when he pays it back,
he had benefit over the time that he was able to use that money. But when it says that he shouldn't borrow from him, what's the problem with borrowing? The guy took a vow that he's not going to give any benefit to Shimon. So we said Shimon can't borrow from him. Why can't Reuven borrow from Shimon? What's the problem with that? What benefit is he getting? Gemara says, actually, you know what? The Gemara adjusts this. It says, when it comes to borrowing from him, and not to buy from him, it comes hanimine, because he is getting benefit. Now, the explanation for this is like Dr. Stein said, that when someone borrows money, he gets these coins, which he spends, and when he gives back, he may be giving back a better sort of coin. Now, it's not interest because it has the same value, but there may be a newer coin that's easier to use. Right.
So that's the.
So the person said he would lend out money and he gets back other coins. Look, a $20 bill, still a dollar bill, as long as you have more than 50%, right? Right. I think if it's more, even if there's a corner toward if you have more than 50% of the bill, so it's still considered a dollar in the bank. It's just you try to use it somewhere, someone's going to give you a hard time, but that's still a dollar. It still has the value. So if you give back a full dollar bill and you borrow that, it's not considered interest because you borrowed a dollar. Just who's going to take it? In the bank, they'll take it, but the kid that's selling you the soda in the school doesn't want it. Oh, really? Uh-huh. Wow. Oh, boy. Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Dog or something got it. $20 bills. They were all ripped up. But they were pretty much put together.
So you send it to the Federal Reserve.
I didn't do it.
Uh-huh.
And they send you back a door.
Oh.
I wonder what they did.
Oh, that's my banker.
Wow.
I'm telling you, they send your money to Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve sends you back a new door.
They don't even, there's a description now on cash deposit. You don't have an account or something. You can't just go in like cash.
Wow.
Only the Feds are allowed to launch.
So the same as when you buy something. If you remember, we had a Gemara before. We had a discussion about certain things that were easy to sell, certain things that were hard to sell. So we said you can't sell him something. You can't buy from him. What's the problem with buying something from him? If you're buying something from the person that's not allowed to have benefits from you. So if you're overpaying, I understand. But if you're not overpaying, what's the problem? So we would say that really you're not overpaying. Okay. But the only thing is that it's the type of item that's rami alape. It fell on its face. It's a type of item that really has a very difficult time selling. No one wants to buy it. So if you come along and buy it, so you're actually benefiting him, even though it's the price. I don't know how that works, market value, but whatever, he's able to get rid of it, to unload it. So that would be considered a benefit. We can understand that. But when it goes back to borrowing an item, when you borrow an item, you have to give that same item back. You can't say that you're getting back, you borrow a hammer. You can't say you're getting back a better hammer. That's not how it works. You get back the same hammer.
Yeah, but now he owes you. He borrowed from you. Next time you want to borrow some, you could say, hey, don't you remember when I borrowed you? Now I need to borrow some. So he has kind of benefit and potential.
Right.
An open.
Right. It's not the answer the Gemara gives. The answer the Gemara gives, gives two answers. One of them may be similar to that. The first answer is Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. We missed the detail in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said he took a vow that not to give benefit to his friend. The Reuven's not going to give benefit to Shimon. But the truth is that it was a vow that went both ways. He said, I won't give benefit to Shimon and I won't get any benefit from Shimon. Okay, now we understand the whole Mishnah. That answers everything. We missed that detail and we added in, it fits.
Is that implied, or did he say that it goes both ways?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's implied or if it's the Ran has a question here. I skipped away the Ran's shot in this Gemara because the Ran has a different version of this Gemara. I did this according to the way Rashi says it and the way I just read it according to the way our Gemara has printed. But the Ran at this point has a question on Rabbi Bar Chanina. He says, if the vow went both ways, so then why does the Mishnah need to tell me that he can't lend him and he can't borrow from him? There's really no chiddush here. If you took a vow, then we lose the whole chiddush. You lose the whole novelty. There's nothing creative in this Mishnah. The Ran says that what it's telling me is, remember when we spoke about that when someone makes a purchase, the seller throws in an extra cookie into the bag, make sure that the weight is perfect. He weighed it, then he throws in a little thing, and it's called viter. Viter means what the seller forgoes just to make it even. He usually goes a little bit over. So he throws in an extra grape or something into the. So what we're saying is that's prohibited, even though you're paying the right price. But because there's this little bit that you usually get when you buy something, a little bit, that's prohibited. That's the opinion of Rebbe Lezer that holds that viter, that little bit is considered a hana. Even though they do it for everyone, that's still considered a hana, and that's prohibited. The only problem is that this discussion we already had in a previous Mishnah. So if you're trying to tell me a chiddush, and you're telling me that the chiddush is Rabbi Eliezer, that says viter is considered hana, so we had it in an earlier Mishnah, what's this Mishnah telling me? It's telling me is that lending and borrowing is also considered a viter, that little extra, the benefit of that extra coin, not the extra coin, of the better coin that you're getting back, that's considered the same status as viter. That's what we're learning. Others would have said, so what's the benefit if it's just they were saying that no, that's considered a benefit. That's what the Ram answers.
Is not considered ribbit at that point.
When it comes to the lending, the better coin, we're putting it under the category of viter, and you're getting back a better coin, and it's considered hana. Regarding vows, regarding ribbis, I never heard that there should be ribbis. A shinier coin. Right? Vav, Yud, Taf, Resh.
Usually that means to proceed a session.
Right. Right.
So that's the reason why the money is not allowed in an object.
No, both the same. Both the same. Nothing is allowed. Why is that? Well, because the object you can't borrow and you also can't lend because you took it out both ways. You're not going to have benefit. You're not going to. But what would be the issue? Now there comes a question. How do you know a viter? How do you know that viter is actually an issue? Hillel is asking. How do you know viter is issue if the vow goes both ways? So the lending of the money, how do you know that the benefit is going to the person that receives the money back? Maybe the benefit is going to the borrower. You took the vow both ways, so you can't give benefit. You lose the whole chiddush of the. I don't know. That's a kasha on the Ran. That's a strong question on the Ran. The Ran's saying that the chiddush of the Mishnah is viter, that the lender gets a benefit. Because when he gets back, he gets like that extra little bit. Unless I'm mixing because I learned the first part of the Gemara like Rashi and switching to the Ran. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it's coming up like this. I didn't learn the first Gemara like the Ran. The first Gemara, according to the Ran, goes, I understand why you can't lend, why you can't buy, why you can't lend the other items, because you're giving him benefit. But why can't you borrow money, and why can't you sell him anything? What benefit are you getting? That's the way the Ran learns it. We've learned it just one way. What's the problem of lending an object? That's we learned this question. The only problem was one of the object. When you lend the hammer and you get it back, you don't get any benefit from that. That was our question. We answered that no, you're getting he took a vow that he's not going to get benefit from you, and he's not going to give benefit to you. So then that's why you can't lend it. So the Ran says, so what's the chiddush? He says, viter, that you are getting something extra. What is that little extra? So by the coin, we understood it. I'm not sure. Okay. Abaye Amar, Gzeira lishal mishum lahashel v'chein kula gzeira. Abaye has a different shot. Only problem with the Abaye's shot is that we don't see this anywhere else. Abaye's shot goes like this. There's a gzeira. If you're allowed to lend, if you're allowed to borrow from the person that you're not allowed to give benefit to, you may end up lending to him. Who was saying this before? That you owe him a favor. Is that what you were saying? Then that's fine. Now, because it's going to go, if you think you can do this, maybe you're going to do that. I lent him already. Now I can borrow from him, and that's a gzeira. The problem is we had like 100 Gemaras that's an exaggeration. We had a bunch of Gemaras where people were taking vows and you were allowed to do one way and not the other way. You're allowed to buy, but you couldn't sell. We had all these Gemaras that we never made a gzeira once that if you're allowed to do this, then you're going to go the other way and do it back. So the Ran asked this question, and the Ran answers, that was talking about, all those cases was talking about when it was a direct hana. You're not allowed to give him fruits. You're not allowed to feed him. The person knows that the only reason why he's getting fed is because the vow only went one way. He wasn't supposed to give you benefit, but you're allowed to feed him. That's not a problem. But over here, I know the vow is going only one way, according to Abaye, not the first answer. According to the second, the vow is only going one way. But the benefit is not even a real benefit, because when you're let's say lending him money, problem with lending money is that the person gets a benefit, and then when you get it back, you get another benefit. You get a benefit because you get a new coin. If you sell something, I guess what we're dealing with is, let's say you sell something. Let's do the sale. The sale, if the price is the right price, but just the object was hard to sell, or maybe it was very easy to sell because it was a hot item that everyone wants, that was also considered a benefit. So if we say that this type of benefit is acceptable one way, then you may think it's acceptable the other way also. And that's our concern. So no, this wasn't a direct benefit. These are indirect benefits that we're saying is a problem the other way as well. That's why over here we make a gzeira. Okay. And then I could say.
And here they mentioned that it goes both ways because it's like a general statement.
We have two answers. Two answers. Why you were not allowed to borrow from someone that you weren't supposed to give benefit to. One answer was that it went both ways. And the other answer is that if we think that you're allowed to borrow, you may end up lending. Okay. in that case itself, you don't really have the issue that the Ran is bringing out, but because you have it in the other cases, so we make that gezerah.
We learned the scenario before that it's like, Shimon would tell Reuben, oh, you have to eat by my house, or if not, like, I'm not gonna give you any benefit, because it was usually like the other way. So then they would do the statement, like, because I guess he felt that he would always go over.
Could be. Oh, so here it's going the opposite. Well, here it's a gezerah. Gezerah means that we make a decree because we don't know if people will get confused. Here we have a new Mishnah. Amalai, he says to Mashalini Parascha, says, lend me your cow. He wants a cow because he wants to use it to plow his field. Amalai any pinuya, it's not available right now. It's on the other line. Amar, he says, Kainam Sadeh Shayani Chayrish Bala'ilam. This is, I don't know how typical this is, but he says, that's it. I'm never plowing my field again. He does it to himself. He gets upset at the guy and hurts himself. That's it. I'm not plowing my field again.
No. My wife always did the garden, and then she had it like 2 months ago and said, I'm not doing gardening anymore. Hire a gardener. So it's sad because she just had it. Now what's happened, the gardeners are so expensive.
So that's what he's saying. He's saying, this is too hard for me. I'm never doing this again. Maybe. Okay, I thought it was because he was upset at the guy. So, sometimes people come home, they're upset at their boss. So they punch the wall of their house. They break their own wall. It's like, it wasn't the boss's wall. So here, he took a vow, he's never plowing again. If he used to always do the plowing himself, then who else serve a chalad mutar? So okay, he doesn't do the plowing, but so everyone else can do the plowing. But if he never did the plowing anyway, then we think that his vow had to have some meaning to it. So who b'chalad masurim, then him and everyone else is prohibited, because what he meant was, I'm not plowing the field again. Yeah. This was a Mishnah that we had quoted in Ksubas, we had it quoted in probably other places. Someone takes a vow from his friend, but the friend then doesn't have what to eat. He takes a vow, he's not going to give any benefit to his friend. Well, he doesn't want his friend to die. So he goes to the storekeeper, so-and-so, it's probably not nudar, it's mudar. What's the aleph over here? Mudar mimeni ana. He is prohibited to have benefits from me. I switched it to a mem because of the bach.
Doesn't make sense with the noun. That's the passive form. Well, he's the one who was taken about rather than.
Yeah. Yeah. So
You like I didn't get it right.
You're right, mudar is the passive, but the mudar is the description of the person.
Mutter is the one who stated the vow. He wasn't going to do anything for his
not
friend.
necessarily. The madir is the one that takes the vow, and the mudar is the description of the person. It's a it's called a participle. He's the one that we're describing his status. He is the one that is forbidden. It's a right.
Yeah, he's
the recipient, but it's okay. So the so and so.
Why is it called an adjective?
It is an adjective. It's an adjective, but it's a mixture of a noun and an adjective. Call it like a substantive adjective. Yes, right. Where it's
But my
anyway. So the beneficiary. Yeah. Right. So so he tells the storekeeper, I don't know what to do. So the storekeeper says, I can figure this out. He gives him food, and then he goes back to the person that took the vow, and he says, okay, now I want money. Now the Ran says that if he would go to court over this, he would lose, because the person didn't actually make a real agreement here that you give him and I'll pay you. That was not a real agreement. But nevertheless, he's able to get the money if the person is so inclined to pay for it. That would be fine, and it won't be a violation of the vow.
It seems like he hinted.
Yeah. He
Why
hinted.
isn't this similar to when you go to on Shabbos, you light your Jewish neighbor,
Right. It is similar. It's not a shlichus. You're not sending him to do it. You just hinted that this would be great, and
So he's creating kind of a loophole.
it's a loophole. Right.
Now, is there a mechanism, or is there a concept of a sorek gadol, like I was just describing,
Yeah.
where you could go to a chacham and say, can you annul
Yeah.
this part of my vow?
Right. So here, actually, part of the leniency here, we're assuming is because of the tzarech gadol, because he doesn't have what to eat. But as we go on, Mishnah is mechadish to us. It's telling us something creative, that even if it doesn't have to do with food, it's still considered a need, and we can still do it. Okay, next case. Haya basi livnis. The person needed his house built. The gidre ligdar needed his fence set up. So they needed his field harvested. And he doesn't have anyone to do it except for this guy. And this guy can't do it because he took a vow. So he goes in front of Home Depot. And he says, Ish plani mudar mimeni ana. So-and-so can't have benefits from me. I don't know what to do for him. So they figure out. They come back to him and they take the payment. Chiddush is that even though it wasn't food, it was just building a house, but nevertheless, that's considered acceptable. Let's say they're on the road. And they don't have, one of them doesn't have what to eat. So you can give it to someone else, let's say the driver, the wagon driver, he gives him food, and then the person can take it from him. If no one else is with him, so there's no one else there. It's the driver and this guy, or maybe they're walking. So what does he do? He needs to feed him, and there's no one to give the food to, so that it should go like in a roundabout way. So he puts it on a stone or on the fence. He says that it's hefker. Another person can come and eat it. Hefker means it's ownerless. Another person can take it from ownerless. Rabbi Yossi says, no, that's forbidden. We have to see why. Rabbi Yochanan, Gemara says. Rabbi Yochanan says, my time with Rabbi Yossi. What's the reason for Rabbi Yossi? Because he holds hefker k'matana. Hefker is like a gift. Ma matana de'asim nice and makabel, just like a gift. It has to go from one person to the other, to the recipient. Af hefker adasil shazeicha. The way that he's describing it is that hefker, it's not like there's a domain. There's people, there's Ruvain and there's Shimon, and then there's Hefker. And he gave it to Hefker, but Hefker allows other people to take it. It's not like that's like a real domain. But the way he's describing it is that Hefker means that I'm keeping it, but the rules of thievery go off. So it's still mine, but anyone can take it. But it's still mine. It's just you can take it without getting into trouble. So that's the hefker. The hefker is taking off those rules that I'm adding in this interpretation. So what happens now is that if you make, according to Rabbi Yossi, when you make it hefker, who's the person taking it from? He's taking it from you. Reuven took a vow, Shimon can't have benefit from it. So he makes it hefker. Reuven makes it hefker. So Shimon takes it from Reuven. So that's not acceptable. He wasn't allowed to take anything from Reuven. If he gave it to someone else, he gave it to Levi, and then Shimon goes to Levi and takes it, fine. But just to say that it's ownerless, that it's hefker, ownerless still means that it's Reuven's, just that you can take it without getting into trouble. It's free to take, but you're still taking it from Reuven.
So what's the status of pollution trees?
That's a good question.
What's your question?
Question is that
We
yesterday,
talked about how produce from trees, that's considered hefker, right?
we said that he was allowed to take it. Question is, if it's really hefker, then if it's hefker the way Rabbi Yochanan learns hefker,
I don't
then
know.
it's not really hefker. He's actually taking it from Reuven,
But
which
the
he wasn't
moment-
allowed to do.
But the moment he takes it,
But the moment he takes it,
he hasn't done anything until he takes it. The moment he
Right.
takes it, the status has changed, so he never even took it.
maybe that's a different sort of hefker. That would be nice. That would be an easy answer. It's a different sort of hefker. Because here also the moment he's taking it, it's his. But the problem is, but who's he taking it from? He's taking it from Reuven. It's not it. The hefker and becoming his is simultaneous over here. Then,
No, he's not taking from, he's taking it from Hefker. Moving maybe Hefker.
but according to
Reuven
Rabbi
has no
Yochanan,
claim.
but according to Rabbi Yochanan, you're right. Reuven has no claim, but it's still considered Reuven's.
Why? If someone goes in there and has an accident, or the apple falls on his head, and he wants to sue Reuven, he says, once he's made it Hefker, he's disavowed.
So how do you want to explain Rabbi Yochanan?
I feel like if you put it,
I don't have to explain to everybody if it's in my book, it's the other guy.
I go like the other opinion.
I think that the sabbatical is like a Torah,
Right.
and it'll be like equal opportunity for everybody to
Right.
take it. In this case that we're talking about is
Right.
like he's making a hefker, so this person could
Right.
take it, like kind of like to create the loophole.
Right.
For the vow.
Maybe that's what Jeff was saying, that it's a stronger sort of hefker. Okay, Masav Rababa. But do you follow what Rabbi Yochanan is saying? That hefker doesn't work because hefker only
Yeah,
works
I
once it
understand
comes
what
into
you're
someone
saying.
else's.
Don't agree with that. Who am I?
Well, you do have to think about what is exactly hefker. Like yesterday, Daniel was telling us about when you take something that's hanging over the person's property, public property, it doesn't mean that it's yours. It's maybe the public, but the public doesn't mean you. I mean, it belongs to over there. In that case, was the city's. City doesn't mean you, just because you live in the city. So here it was made ownerless, but who is that ownerless? Yeah. This is it's a hakira, like this is what the yeshivas would talk about. What does ownerless mean? Does it mean, they would say, like, doesn't mean that it belongs to everyone a little bit, doesn't mean that it belongs to no one, doesn't mean that it still belongs to the person, but you can just have the rights to take it.
Go explain to a non-Jew why we would spend all this time talking about who doesn't own it,
I know in my apartment, like if someone was messing with the laundry, we have public rooms to
Right.
washer and dryer and things like that.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, someone still technically owns it, even though it's not their residence.
Right. Well, right.
So if we want to discuss, like if we find, like for example, like $1, like something that without a name or anything, like I don't remember if it's like we put it, like when we put up a sign, oh, did anybody lose money? And
Right.
like somebody has to come forward and say how much it was.
Right. Right. So we're saying what we're talking about over there is that just because you found it and he lost it doesn't mean that he's given up and he's actually still the owner. Doesn't mean he's still the owner. Over here, we're talking about where the person like threw it aside. I don't want it anymore. And then you come along and you take it. So did you take it from no one or did you take it from him? So according to Rabbi Yochanan, as his explanation of Rabbi Yossi is, you took it from him.
He doesn't believe in that one.
Right.
There's no way that owner, people who lose the dollar, right on it, I lost it and I disowned it.
No, you can't do that until someone else takes it. Once someone else takes it, it still has attached to him.
Wait a minute, that sounds like a guy who gives a get to a woman, and then she's not married yet, remarried yet. And then you say, no, she's still his ex, like as if it's possessive. No, it's the ex. He's gone. That's what you're saying here.
What do you say? What do you say? She's not his ex.
She's not his ex, even though she's his ex.
What happens to someone put their item put in the middle of the street?
So it turns out that we actually have a Gemara about, where the Gemara says that the original owner is still liable. But that's so interesting because it's Rabbi Yochanan himself that says that in Bava Kama. It's Rabbi Yochanan. I think it's Rabbi Yochanan that
That's
says
what I
that.
said about the.
Shnei dvarim she'einu b'shus shel adam, v'asana kaso kilem b'shusei. Ve'eluhein bar b'shus rabim, v'chametz v'pesach. Chametz also, if you say it's own, no, you're not saying it's ownerless. But by chametz, what's happening is it becomes automatically ownerless because you can't have any benefit from. So anything you can't have benefit from means that you don't own it because you can't do anything with it. You can't sell it. You can't eat it. You can't. So you're basically not the owner anymore. But nevertheless, it's still considered. You're still considered responsible because you didn't destroy it before Pesach. And then the same thing is with a pit in the public domain or any obstacle in the public domain. Even though you made it ownerless, but the Torah says that. So what? It's still yours. Still yours. So if that's, I believe that it's Rabbi Yochanan that said that. And then Rabbi Yochanan over here, so it fits very interesting.
But those two items still have additional responsibilities. The pit can injure somebody, so you must cover the pit even if you don't want to own it anymore. You can't just leave a
Right.
potential. And as far as the chametz is concerned, before you can do the biur chametz, you have to at least have, done the bikadis something, or you can't just automatically say, "Oh, my chametz," and never gone through the first one.
Okay, that's another issue. That's another issue because over there if you don't search and destroy, we're concerned that you may end up eating it. You may end up. That's another issue, right? Yeah, there you go.
Don't we do the agreement? Like, so it changes.
Yeah,
ownership?
yeah, but that's changing ownership.
Yeah.
Right. That's fine. Everyone accepts that if you give it to someone else, that's good. Okay. Let's take a look.
We wouldn't be able just to say, "Oh, it doesn't belong to me." No, we have to
You
change
can't do
ownership.
that. You can't do that. But that, like Dr. Stein was saying, that could be another issue because just saying that it's not mine by Pesach, you may end up eating it when you see it. So that's why we want it destroyed or sold or put aside. Masav Rababa. Rababa has a question. It says in our Mishnah, he's quoting a brayso. The other person can come and eat it because he made it hefker. Shimon can come and eat it, even though it belonged to Reuven, and Shimon's not supposed to have benefit from Reuven. Rabbi Yossi says you can't. Rabbi Yossi says, Amosai, when do I say this? That's only because he took the vow that he's not going to give benefit to Shimon before he made it hefker. In that instance, we don't accept that sort of hefker. Aval imhaya hefkere kaidem linidrei. But if he made it hefker first, and then he says he takes a vow that Shimon cannot have benefits from me, then we say hareza mutter. Then we say that Shimon can go and take it from hefker. The iyamrit, and if you're going to accept Rabbi Yochanan's pshat, ad asilu shosaycha, that it still belongs to Reuven until someone else comes and takes it, until Levi takes it, or until Shimon takes it, which that would be a problem. But in order to do this in a mutter way, Levi would have to take it, and then Shimon can get it from Levi. So mali nidri kaidem hefker, malif kaidem nidri. If hefker doesn't work until someone else takes it, so what's the difference when he made it hefker? It's always Reuven's until someone takes it. Whether he took the vow that Shimon can have benefit from him before he made it hefker, or whether he took the vow afterwards, it's still Reuven's.
He doesn't have to make a hefker if the vow is after.
No. He has property that he has under his domain. He has property that he has under his hefker domain. And he takes a vow now that Shimon can't have benefit from it. He's Reuven. Shimon can't have benefit from it. So Shimon can't have benefit, of course, from his domain. But what about from the hefker domain? We said yes, according to this brisa. Says yes, that he can. Now, if we accept Rabbi Yochanan's view that hefker is really nothing until someone else takes it, still belongs to Reuven. So how is he allowed to go and take from the hefker of Reuven if it's still Reuven's? We're challenging Rabbi Yochanan's interpretation of hefker according to Rabbi Yosef. So the Gemara answers, "Hu ma'isavla v'hu mishanela." Rabbi Abba actually gives his own answer. Kol ha'neiderin daite al mashe hefker. The explanation goes like this: that when Reuven took the vow that Shimon can't have any benefit from me, what he really meant was Shimon can't have any benefit from what's under my personal domain, not what's under my hefker domain. So it was, now we're going back to like a stipulation in the vow. It's not that it's not Reuven's. It actually still is Reuven's according to Rabbi Yochanan. It still is Reuven. Only thing is that that's not what he had intention for when he took the vow. He would only have intention for things that's actually his. Okay, there you go. Let's leave this. Then the next Gemara will Mitzvah Shem tomorrow.
So what word?
I stopped right before the Massive Rava. Amashi Hifke.
Shkaya. Very nice.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Okay. Good day. I could have stopped. I could have done one more piece. Okay.
Okay, Kultuf.
Okay, have a good day. Bye.